Welcome to Flash CS6 Tutorial 24 Multiplication Timetable. It's a follow-up to Flash CS6 Tutorial 23, which was Display on Stage Content of Array Part 2, and that's what I have opened on my computer. Start by locking the layers. Select this text layer, insert a layer, and call it Buttons. B-U-T-T-O-N-S. Select frame 1. Go to the rectangle tool here. Click on it. Pick up any color you want for your buttons. I'm going to pick up an orangey color. Black for my trim. Holding my shift down and I'm making a square. I'm going to pick up my selection tool and I'm highlighting that square. Open the properties panel and make sure this chain here is locked, and I want to make it 25 by 25. Enter, and notice both the X and Y, the height and the width, change at the same time. Going up here, modify, going to convert that to a symbol. Make sure button is selected here and call it time, T-I-M-E, time underscore BTN. Actually, it's times, T-I-M-E-S, as in times table, underscore BTN. OK. Open the properties panel. There it is. If not, highlight it and open the properties panel and give it an instance name, TIMES 1 times 1 underscore BTN. Copy that. Okay. Open the library. Pull another one on. Put it right there. Open the properties panel. Paste it in. Call this times 2. Open the library. Drag another one over. Open the properties panel. Paste it in. Call it times 3. Now let's try something here. Times 3. Let's highlight the 3 of them. Get that two-way arrows thing. Copy them. Right click, paste in place, and click on them and drag them over. And click on this one. Open the properties panel. This should be times 4. This one should be times 5. And naturally, this one should be times 6. Okay. Copy them. Right click, copy. Paste in place. Drag them down. And do the same thing. Open the properties panel. Make them 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. I'll get back to you when that's done. And I'm going to do the last one with you. Select it, open the properties panel, and make this one 12. Lock that layer, the buttons layer, insert a layer, call it BUTNUM as in button number. Select that frame 1. Come over here, pick up the text tool, open the properties panel, make sure classic text is selected. Make sure static text is selected and click here and pick up a black, and I'm going to go about 20 points for now. See how that works out. I'll make a block, type 1, make a block 2, 3, 4. Do that all the way to 12 and I'll get back to you. Pick up my selection tool. This is the 12th one here, number 12. I'm not going to play around with these. Number 11, number 10. Oops. Keep the selection tool. 10, 9, 8. I'll do all these and get back to you again. Okay, I have all my buttons numbered now. Okay, I'm going to make sure all my layers are locked. I'm selecting the Actions layer, opening the Actions panel, and somewhere here at the end of these variables, put an enter and type this code, making another variable. VAR, it's called times fact, capital T, capital F, as in the times factor. Colon, number, capital NUMBER, turns blue, equals 0, semicolon. So we're going to have that when we press one of these numbers, that's going to change this value so it knows how much to multiply by. Okay, come down here just before this 4, put a couple of enters. I'm going to go up with the arrow so I have some spacing between them, and type this code. This is for that times 1 button, the one with the number 1 in it. Times 1 underscore BTN period, add event listener, small a, capital E, capital L, turns blue if it's spelt right. Open bracket, mouse event, capital M, capital E, that turns blue. Period. Click, all capital letters. Comma, and I'm calling it T1, close bracket, semicolon. Function turns purple. T1's the name of our function, capital T. Open bracket, event, EVENT, turns blue. Colon, most event, capital M, capital E, close bracket, colon, void, VOID. There's the open curly bracket for my function, and there's the closed curly bracket for my function. And I'm doing two things. I'm tracing the word button, TRACE, open bracket, quotation, button, close quotation, close bracket, semicolon, and this times fact, that's that new variable we made, is going to be equal 1. So let's just test that to make sure there's no errors at this point in time. We're not going to be able to do anything. Okay, no errors. I'm getting something taking place, and if I press 1, I should trace button. Okay, go back to the action script. Let's go down and see where we're going to use this times fact variable. Come down here, and right in here where we have this count equals count plus 5, copy this variable name time fact, right click, copy this, and then come down here and where it has plus 5, replace the 5 with that variable. So now let's test it here. Test movie test. It's nothing in that time fact. When I press 1, 1 will go into it, and we got to now have it happen again so we can actually have this change. So that's what it's supposed to do. Back to the action script. Okay, right after this close curly bracket for this new button function we just made, put a couple enters and type this code. Type. It says display underscore BTN, capital D. That's a button we're going to make. Period. This add event listener, click. You could go up here and copy this and paste it in. It's exactly the same. Comma, display, capital DISPLAY, open bracket, semicolon. Function, there's the word display again. You could actually copy this line and paste it in and change T1 to display. There's the open curly bracket for this function. And way down the bottom, I think, of the page, way down the bottom of the page, click there and add a close curly bracket. Back to the timeline. Select the button's number layer, insert a layer, call it BUT, BUTDIS, as in display. Select that actions panel for a second, and up here where we added that button, copy this name, copy that, back to the timeline, back to that frame 1 of that button dis. Select the rectangle tool. I went black for my stroke and some kind of a light bluish for my fill, and I'm going to make a rectangle. Pick up selection tool, modify it. Oh, I gotta highlight it first. Selection tool, highlight, modify, convert to a symbol, make sure button is selected, and paste in that name we copied. Paste it in, there it is. Okay, it's still highlighted, if not highlighted. Open the properties panel and paste it here for an instance name. And we can double click on it, come down here to the line, call it text, T-E-X-T, pick up the text tool, make a text box here. It should still be here on static text. If not, make sure it's static text. I want black for my color, and write display, D-I-S-P-L-A-Y, display. Make it long enough to fit. I might have to make my, picking up my free transfer tool, double clicking on this and making my button bigger, and put my display in there so it has a name. Back to the main scene, and let's test this out. Control, test movie test. No errors. If I press 1, nothing happens, but when I press this, I'll get the 1 times table. Next thing we want to do is we want to make sure that this display button is not being seen until we actually select a factor, a multiplication factor. So right here after this information here, put a couple enters in and type in this line of code. Type, type, type. Display underscore BTN, that's that button we just made and programmed. Period visible, V-I-S-I-B-L-E, turns blue, equals false, F-A-L-S-E, small f, that turns blue, semicolon. So that means that this button, when we first start it, will not be seen. So copy that and come down here for this times 1 button. After the times factor has been set to 1, put an enter, paste that content you just copied in and make this true. Small t, T-R-U-E. Let's just make sure that works. Control, test movie test. It's gone. As soon as I press this, now I can display my content. What's next is to write the same code for the rest of the buttons. So I'm just going to do one more here. Do a couple with you first. Copy that from this close curly bracket up to here. Right click, copy it. Click here, couple enters. Go up with 1 arrow so you get some space between them. Paste it in. And this becomes button times 2, 2. This becomes T2. This becomes a 2. And this becomes a factor, multiplication factor of 2. And this is trace button 2. Okay. Click here. 2 or 3 enters. Up with the arrow once. Paste it in. And this is times 3. T3. T3. Button 3. And factor 3. Okay, so I'm going to do right up to 12, and then I will get back to you. I'm going to do the last one with you. I just did number 11. Few enters, arrow, tabbing up with the arrow key, pasting it in place, and this is going to be a 12, 12, 12, 1, 2, 12, 12, and let's see if I got any errors, because quite often when you do that you get errors. I have an error. It's going to tell me exactly where it is. It's on frame 1, which we are at line 123. And line 123 is right here. And right here I have 21 instead of 12. 12. Okay, you probably don't have any faults. If you do, straighten them out. Don't go any further if you can't, if you have any faults. Test movie test. And if I press this, there I have there. If I go to 9, now you see this? That's because I didn't cancel out what it was already inside of that text box. So that's what we got to do next. So let's move way down here, right here, where we're actually just doing the text display and auto sizing. Right after this, trace, couple enters, and type this code. Type. Display underscore txt, that's that display that we're seeing on the stage. Period. Text, this text turns blue. Equals, quotation, semicolon. So what I'm doing is replacing all those numbers from the first time with nothing. So now we should clear that problem. Test movie test. If I go ones, display, there's ones. If I go 11, display, it gives me my 11 times table. And for some reason, that didn't work. And if we look here, the problem is this count is just continuing from the previous selection. So we got to go down to the bottom of our page, and there should be 3 curly brackets down here, 3 closed curly brackets. I want to get between the last 2, so I want to be before the last one, and there's a CNT, that's the variable that does the counting for us, equals 0. We're just got to reset that. Now let's test it out. Control test movie test, and select 1, display, that's good. If I select 11, display, there's new. 12, display. I go by 6s, display, and 5s, that's the easiest one to see, and 10s. So now I want to do one more thing. I want to add one more text box so we can see what numbers we have selected, what factor. I'm back on the main timeline. I locked all my layers. I'm selecting this text layer, inserting a layer, calling it select, SELTXT, as in select text. Selecting that frame 1, picking up my text tool, open my properties panel, make sure classic text is here, make sure dynamic text is here, Times New Roman, and let's make this fairly big. Let's make this like 30, and select black, and make a little text box here. It's only got to hold 2 digits, and lock the layer. Let's select the actions layer, open the actions panel, and go up here for this button here, time 1 button, right here. Put an enter and type this code. Type. Select underscore text, TXT, capital S. That's that text box we just made. Period. Text, TEXT, that turns blue, equals, open bracket, times fact, that's that variable right up here, times factor, so you can copy that if you want and paste it in. So open bracket, times fact, close bracket, period, to string, all one word, small t, capital S, turns blue if it's spelt right, open and close bracket, semicolon, and copy that. Come down for here for number 2, input a enter, paste it in. Come down for number 3, paste it in. I'm going to do the rest of them and I'll get back to you. I'll do the last one with you. I'm down to my button 12, pasting it in. And if we have no errors, control test movie test. I have major errors, and it's because I never gave that a name, undefined name, on all those points. So if I go back to here, unlock the select text layer, open the properties panel. Oops, we have to pick up the selection tool and highlight this box. Open up the properties panel, and we got to give it a name. SEL, select, underscore TXT. That should do it for us. Control test movie test. And I got a 9 here. My box is not quite big enough. So make my box bigger. Test the movie. Actually, it's got to hold 2 digits. So I'm going to make it big like this. Control test movie test. I can put a 12 in there. I can put a 4 in there, a 9, and selecting all of them. And when I press display, that does the 9s table. I can press a 1. Now I'm doing the 1 times table. Press 12. Now the 12 times table. Hope you learned something from this tutorial, and I hope you use what you learned.